Welcome. We're going to talk about personal statements and how you can construct a professional narrative as you apply to graduate programs. My name is Rachel Wilbreck. I am the program director for the University Career Center at CMNS, and Jeffrey Cho is here with me today to help out. He works with me in the UCC at CMNS. If you have questions as we go through, you can feel free to put those in the chat. Either to me or to Jeffrey. Jeffrey will probably see them sooner as I'll be presenting and not paying as close attention to the chat as he will be, but you're welcome to send them to either of us as I go through this. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit first about a framework for your personal statement or statement of purpose. You might see both words or terms used interchangeably. There are some programs where they will ask for both and they will tell you how they think they're different. But for the most part, if you see one or the other, they're pretty interchangeable. And there are three things that they're really looking for you to do in your personal statement. And that is to prove that you're a good fit for that program, to prove that the program is a good fit for you, and then of course to share your overall career goals. And we're going to go through those one by one and kind of talk about what that can look like and how you can do those things. So proving your fit, proving why you are a good fit to be there at their program or in their school, their university. It can be really helpful to identify the skills, the knowledge, the experiences, the abilities that are necessary to be a successful graduate student in the discipline or the program that you're interested in, because that may look different, right? It most likely will. You applying to a program within the sciences and what they're looking for is going to look very different than when I, or even when Jeffrey applied to student affairs programs in education. I was applying to a master's program. They weren't really looking for me to have a lot of research experience, but they wanted to see that I had worked on a college campus, right? That is not going to be something to, no matter whether you're looking at master's or PhD. If you're looking at PhD, they're definitely going to be looking for research, right? But they may not be as concerned on whether you worked on a college campus in different offices or were involved in student organizations and that kind of thing. So you know your discipline and your program, very well because you're probably in it now or you've explored it enough that you know you want to go into that program. Typically, if we were in person, I'd be telling you to list some of those things that you think are important at the top of that handout. You have the handouts. And so certainly if you wanted to type that in, or if you want to follow along and do it on paper, you can. If you just want to think about them, that's fine too. But typically this presentation is kind of a presentation and then some work time. So that is why it says to list them at the top. But like I said, feel free to think through what are those things. So maybe it's research. Like I said, if you're looking at a PhD program, may not be as important if you're thinking about master's programs. Your academic record, grades might be important. Maybe there's teaching or tutoring experience that's important. Maybe there's other work experience that you've had. There's a lot of different things, and even maybe specific skills that you want to highlight, whether that's in or outside of a lab. Those are things to think about, and making sure you know what's important to your discipline so that you can successfully talk about them and how you have that experience. So once you've kind of identified what these skills and abilities are that are important for your discipline, identifying your experiences and how they fit in and how you can prove that you have these things that they say are important, that's what's going to make up the body paragraphs, right? That's where you're going to start addressing the things that you know are important to your discipline and show how you have those same things, because that's how you're going to help to prove your fit for that program, for that university, and for the career path ultimately. But it's not just about whether you're a good fit for the program. The program also wants to know why they are a good fit for you. Same thing that you might do if you were applying to a job. You might say why a specific job is right for you, not just why you're good for them. Graduate schools want to know that you will adapt to the program. So they want to make sure that it's one that is going to be a good fit for you. They want to make sure that it's what you're looking for, because if you end up in a program that isn't a good fit for you, chances are you're not going to stay with that program. And they, of course, want to bring people in that are going to stick with it, right? Ultimately get the degree and aren't going to leave or be unhappy. Someone that's going to persist and get degrees because that makes them look good too. So they're going to want to know, what about their school? What about their program? But they also want to know why this specific discipline. Why have you decided that this is the path that you want to take? Why do you want to learn more about your specific field? They want to hear potentially a passion for the field, what gets you excited about learning more and exploring a career further with this further education. Um, they also, want you to base it on your experiences. Coming back even to the last point with proving why you're a good fit, you know, being able to talk about your experiences and how they will be amplified by the program and the program's fit for you is also a way to hit this question or this goal of the statement of purpose or personal statement. They want to know why the specific school. This could be where you might choose to comment on the mission statement of the university, if that's a big part of their culture and who they are as an institution, or if that specific department has or program has a mission or a vision statement, or if they have certain core beliefs, being able to show that those match what you look for or you value are going to be really helpful to showing how that program is a good fit for you. You might also choose to talk about your excitement to work with specific faculty. This can be really helpful with PhD programs. They often want to know who you want to do research with. It's often helpful to have reached out to those faculty members ahead of time, and almost have like handshake agreements of, they know that you're interested in the work that they're doing, and assuming you get, accepted, they want you to work in their lab, that kind of thing. So being able to talk about specific faculty you want to work with and do research with and what you're interested in doing, while you're there are helpful to talk about the program's fit. And part of this, you might think that, oh, if I'm applying to a program, they should know that I'm interested in the work they're doing. Well, part of it is they also want to make sure that you've done a little bit of research. You want to make sure that a program has the tools and the resources to do the kind of work that you want to do. If you're interested in doing a specific type of research that requires a specific tool, resource, or piece of machinery, and that school doesn't have it, then they're not a good fit for you because they can't offer you the resources that you would need to do the research you want to do. Or if you have a specific area that you want to go into, but they don't have a faculty member that works in that very specific area, again, they may not be a good fit. So if you can point to a specific faculty member that's doing the work that you want to do, that helps to prove the point that they would be a good fit for the work that you want to do as well. So again, the last point, overall career goals. You want to speak about maybe a job title, maybe just a career path in general that you might want after graduation. You don't have to have everything answered, but like if you know that you want to go into academia, great. If you know that you have a specific area that you want to research and you don't know if that's going to be in academia or for a government lab, or you might want to work for a private company, even like you don't necessarily have to have all that figured out, but knowing kind of the work that you want to do after graduation. And again, making sure it aligns with the focus of the program or faculty interests. You want to make sure there's someone at that institution that's doing that work. You need someone who can be the person you do your research under, right? That can provide a focus to your work, mentorship. One example I've heard, and this is not necessarily with PhDs or masters, but when I've talked with some of our colleagues in the health professions advising office, they've talked about like applying to different medical schools. Like if you're interested in, an urban community environment and providing medicine in an urban, setting, then like Penn State medicine is not where you'd want to go to school because it's in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which yes, is a small city, but is, as someone from Pennsylvania knows, a small city and very rural as far as the medicine and the things that they do. They look more at rural and like, I would say suburban health. Like you're not going to be in an inner city at that program. Also, like if you're interested in more like, I'm trying to think here of another example, but there are certain programs, I think it's Maryland's dental program that really focuses on community dentistry and charity work. And so like that's something that they look for when people apply. And so an interest in service is going to be really important to that program. So knowing whatever the focus is of the program or the school that you're interested in and being able to align that to your career goals is really important, because you want to find a program that's going to help you get where you want to get afterwards. So being able to talk about your career goals is only going to build into the evidence of the first 2 points. Your fit for the organization or the institution, and the program or institution's fit for you and what you want to do. And remember too that when looking especially at PhDs, faculty want to foster the future leaders in their fields. Like they get excited about knowing that they can point to graduates of their program and say, that person worked with me and now look at all the great things that they're doing. So if you can impress them with the things that you hope to do or hope to study and the difference that you hope to make, they want to be a part of that future for you, and they want to help to foster that, because selfishly in turn it like helps them look good too if they can point to all these great students that have come after them because of their leadership or help. But also unselfishly, they want to help foster the field that they're in. They care about it. It's important to them. They want to see good people come up behind them that can also do good work. And so they want to help foster those next groups of students and PhDs and master candidates. All right, so we talked about kind of the 3 things that you definitely want to make sure come across. I also want to talk about like the different parts or pieces or like the way that you might structure it. So obviously most people probably know you're going to have some kind of an introduction. You've probably heard that there might be some kind of hook or human interest story. The sample from the sample personal statement that I shared or that Jeffrey shared in the handouts. In my view of human nature, people are significantly defined by what they do. And in this way, a career fulfills essential needs in every person. Like this is someone who wanted to go into vocational counseling. So talking a little bit about their interest in the field and maybe getting you to think about why they're interested in a field is a potential hook or to get whoever's reading your personal statement to continue reading because they want to hear what else you have to say. Be careful with your hook. One thing that I've seen done a little too much is occasionally you'll see, ever since I was 4 years old, I've been interested in sea creatures. And that's great. And that might be part of the reason that you're interested in whatever program you're in, right? Or looking into. But you want to focus less on this is something that I want to do since I was little and maybe build more on experiences that you've had since then. Because yeah, like as a kid, not even me. All right. So look at cousins of mine, love dinosaurs. Neither of them are interested in paleontology as a career, right? We all have interests as children. So like, yes, that might start it, but like, what is it? What meaningful experiences have you had as a young adult that are pushing you towards this career? Because that's going to mean a little bit more. So providing an overview of your experience, at a higher level that have maybe shaped your skills or decision to apply are important. Use that introduction to list the school and or program by name. Be careful that you swap this out for every program. You don't want to send the wrong school name to a program. Same goes for, when you're writing cover letters someday, because it does happen. So just be really careful about that. And then there should be some kind of thesis statement, whether that's talking about the skills that you've developed in research already or practitioner experience you've had, but letting them know, what you're seeking to do potentially with your master's or PhD or whatever program you're applying to get into. Sharing a little bit about yourself in that thesis that will kind of carry through then the body of your personal statement. So body paragraphs. I talked a little bit about this already, but this is where you're really going to connect your experiences to the skills, the abilities, the knowledge that your field expects. So being able to talk about your research experience and how that's added to your knowledge or how that's helped you realize an interest in a specific field or why you want to study something more. Being able to demonstrate change over time is good too. Maybe you started exploring one area and you realized that wasn't right, but you found this other area that really got you excited about it. That could be one way, or it could just be change in that, it's grown over time. It doesn't mean that you have to start interested in one area and completely shift, right? But being able to kind of talk about your skills, your experience, how they relate to your interest in this, how they, again, come back to those points of what makes them a good fit, what makes you a good fit for the program. These are things that you're going to want to share in detail in the body paragraphs. You will also see on one of the handouts that there is a workup of kind of like an outline of different paragraphs and how you can talk about things. These are to help you think of how you could fill in the body paragraphs and how you could relate to some of the things they're looking for. So conclusion paragraph. So you're gonna have that intro, you're gonna have a few body paragraphs, and you're gonna have some kind of conclusion, right? So restating your desire to continue growing in your career field, how this program, reminding them how this program will help you achieve that. This is a way that you can almost brag for them, right? You're telling them why their program is great or why it's such a good fit for you. Maybe it's because they have a specific resource. You get to work with a specific faculty member. Maybe it's a center on their campus that you want to get involved in. You're almost kind of patting them on the back and telling them why they're great and why you want to be there, right? Commenting, this could be, again, a spot where you might comment on the program's mission statement and how it relates to what you're interested in studying or how you want to contribute to the field in the future. And then, of course, restate how you feel you can contribute to the program now, because they are trying to build a class of people and they want to bring people in that will do well in the coursework, but always also like fit into specific labs on campus, and to be able to add to the body of knowledge that is already out there, because that's part of what you do with a PhD. Yes, you're learning, but you're ultimately running a dissertation, right? So like what kind of research are you doing? How are you contributing to the body of knowledge of that field? They want to be excited about you and feel like you can do that. With a master's program, typically it's not as much about research, but they're preparing you to work in the field, and they want to know that you can contribute to that working world and that field, and how you will go out and contribute and be a good practitioner, and potentially also make them look good, because if they're good practitioners out there and they see that they all went to certain programs, that makes them look good too. So online resources, and Jeffrey, if you wouldn't mind sharing the links to these in the chat, that would be great. Berkeley has some information about personal statement and statement of purpose. They're one that splits them up and thinks they're different. Purdue, Al writing the personal statement is also another resource that Jeffrey's going to put in the chat. And then Yale has handout as well. You've seen our handouts, that's what you got first, but these are just some additional ones that I know students have found helpful over the years. So I like to share them so you have a lot of different options and things to look at. All right, so no, this was a quick presentation, but we often with this presentation rely on questions. So now please, if you haven't already, put them in the chat to Jeffrey or I. Typically, we kind of talk through this and talk about the different parts. And then if you've already started working on your personal statement, you might have specific questions that you want to ask. Or if you haven't started, you might have more specific questions about how to get started. But this is the time for that. It probably won't be a working presentation like it has been in the past, where you could stick around and hang out and continue to work on things and ask questions, just because it is over Zoom. But obviously you have my contact information here and Jeffrey's. So if you have a question that comes up later, you can always shoot either of us an email, but please share with me any questions that you have right now. And I have a question. How many people have already, and you can put this in the chat, how many people have already started on a personal statement? Cool. All right. All right. So there's a couple people coming in saying that they've already started. No, I hear you. Somebody said they've started but haven't finished yet. They're missing a lot of details right now. That's often how mine start when I'm writing. Okay, someone asked if I can unmute so they can ask a question out loud. I'm totally fine with that. Give me 1 second and I will do that. I will allow people to unmute themselves. So you should be able to do that now.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Go ahead.
I guess in my situation, I am applying for master's and PhD programs in computer science. But my interest for research only started relatively recently, like beginning of 2020 is when I first started doing actual research work.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering, because for competitive programs, I feel like I'm a bit behind the curve in terms of my background, works, publications, and just general knowledge. So I'm also applying to competitive programs for their master's degrees, as well as the PhD one if I can.
Mhm.
So I guess my question is, in my statement, will I still emphasize all my research work and explain how I plan on continuing my academics there through the master's to further hone these skills and then continue on for a PhD either in that school or elsewhere? Or I'm kind of unsure as to what exactly I should emphasize in my statement. Is it more my academic prowess or my research skills that I've developed so far?
So I think, I mean, it's going to be a little bit of everything, right? But yes, if you're interested in a PhD, you're definitely going to want to talk about the research you've had so far. I would also, as you've mentioned, like talk about how you're going to continue to build on that between now and when you'd ultimately start there. Because you might talk about what you've already done, but you're also going to talk about how you're going to continue that through this year, in that year before you'd potentially get in. I think also talking about what you want to continue there and your research interests that you want to continue to pursue. I would also say if you can, if you have other experience that maybe isn't research, but is still would speak to your skills and abilities, like if you had an internship or if you had a part-time job where you got to use some of these skills, I think that could be just another way to show your experience and what you can bring, even if it wasn't in a research environment. And that's something that they're going to want to see.
Right, I see. And so if lots of my current work, I guess that we don't have concrete results on like research that I've done so far, I'm also taking a graduate class this semester. We'll be doing so again next semester. And there's
Yeah,
work that's
definitely
going
talk
to be
about the
done in
grad class
these.
too.
Is it fine if I just state I've been doing this and this so far? We plan on getting results, but these are in areas of interest to me that I plan on continuing and where I want to take it. There's like future directions for this.
Absolutely, because they already want to know what future direction you want to take it. So
Right.
absolutely. And I think if you've already taken grad classes, that's helpful because if you can show that you are willing to take, what they perceive as a harder class right now as an undergrad, and if you can at some point in the future point to the fact that you did well in that class, that it bodes well for the fact that you would hopefully do well, in their program as well when you took graduate classes with them.
Right. Okay. And I think one other small question, sorry if I'm taking up a lot of time, but I am doing a double degree in computer science and math. How relevant is it to mention that in the statement, or will they already know this through my transcript history and all that?
Well, they will know it through your transcript history, but I think in talking about maybe how math has supported um, your computer science degree,
Right.
or how maybe it's helped you decide, you're not in a way that you're downplaying math, but maybe it's helped you decide what area of, CS you're even interested in. I mean, I know with Maryland, our CS program is very math heavy. So
Yeah.
pointing out that you like both. And if you're looking at other programs that would also want a strong math background, being able to point out that you have the CS background and the math background, I think could be helpful for some programs.
Okay.
You're not
All
going to
right.
probably talk about it as much, but
Just like
definitely
one sentence
yeah.
indicating
Yeah. I
that.
wouldn't ignore the fact that you have a second major.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Someone asked in the chat, do you have specific advice for people who don't plan on pursuing a PhD, just more of a master's, because a master's is more course based, yes, and not as much research. Should that be reflected in my statement? I don't have research experience as of yet. Yeah, absolutely. Like I didn't talk about research at all. Again, I didn't go into a science program, but like I went for a master's. I didn't have research experience, so I didn't talk about it. It's not where I was focused. Same thing. If you are looking at a program that is more, planning to set you up to be a practitioner because it is more course based and give you additional information to use in the, not that PhDs don't go into working world because they do, but it looks a little different. What I would do is, you're going to talk about coursework that maybe has had a big impression on you. Again, still come back to your experience. Hopefully you've either had experience, maybe there's a student group for your major or program that you've been a part of, or maybe you've had internships or part-time jobs that have helped you gain some additional experience. If you haven't in your specific area or field that you want to continue researching, you've at least had some kind of experience somewhere, right? Where you can, even if it's not related to your field, you can hit on, teamwork skills from a part-time job, or leadership skills, or, being detail oriented, or whatever it is. And you can pull these from other opportunities and share those and how they are helpful to the career path that you ultimately want to get on. Should I talk more? This is the same person. Should I talk more about areas of research that interest me? Absolutely. If you think that you will get the opportunity to do research in your master's or things that you want to learn more about, you can absolutely talk about areas of interest or fields that you want to continue to grow and learn about, especially if they relate to what you want to do in the future, for sure. I'm going to scroll back and make sure I didn't miss anybody's statement here. Okay, I don't look like it. Jeffrey, did any questions come through to you? It seems like they might have all come to me, and that's totally fine. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, cool. Any other additional questions? They can be specific or general. Okay. Well, like I said, this would probably go about half an hour. It's 4:30. I will stick around for another minute or two. If you have additional questions, let me know. Great question. The YouTube. It will be posted on the UMD Career Center YouTube channel, and that's what it is. It's UMD Career Center. I will also send out an email to those of you that RSVP'd and attended when it's up, because it will take potentially a day to get up there, but I will let you know. And if you haven't signed in, thank you, Jeffrey. Please take a moment, click that link. The access number is just 1234, and then you type in your UID. That just helps us to know who's here. But otherwise, if you don't have a question, feel free to log out. You have my contact information. You have Jeffrey's. Let us know if you have questions. If you have personal statements that you want us to read and give feedback on, make an appointment with us. We can do that too. Yes, someone just asked that question. We are available for private appointments to discuss specific questions. If you sign into Careers for Terps, you can see the link there on the side of the page that's up now. Sign into Careers for Terps. And what I would recommend is going to the counselors when you go to make make a career assistance appointment. You can filter by days and types of appointments. What I would do is just go right to the counselor's piece and look for my name and look for Jeffrey's name and just filter by our names. And then you'll see all of our availability for like the next 2 weeks. Yes. Or if you have trouble with Careers for Terps, shoot us an email and we'll get you there. I also like to point out, I am not the best person to point out every grammar mistake that you make. The Writing Center is really good for that, but content-wise, definitely good at that. But thanks, everybody.